shared responsibility is something that I find very important in order to really work with inclusion, diversity, and gender equality. And when I started in 2014, the board at that time had actually created a new administration or administrative structure for the organization, where before that time, the chair of the association was full-time employed and had the responsibility both as a political chair and also as the manager of the office. But from 2014, the chair has only been engaged 50%. And then I'm full-time employed in order to take care of the daily managing of the organization. But having a chair of only 50% has actually created the opportunity of sharing the responsibility and the tasks within the board, so that more people are actually active and responsible. And this has turned out to be really good, because that's a way of having more people involved. And one thing we have done is to actually start collecting or doing a repertoire statistics on classical music. We have done it twice, where we look at all the classical music and new music being presented in the concert halls in Denmark, and then drawing statistics on the relationship between music by men and women, old and new music, Danish music and music from abroad. And what it showed, the first one we did in 2018 showed that only 3.6% of the music throughout 3 seasons in all concert halls in Denmark presenting classical music was written by women. In 2021, this percentage had raised to 5.4%. So as you can see, it's a very, very little percentage, but it has been extremely important to actually show these numbers to managers.
So just to give you an idea how less women composers are heard by the public who have a subscription concept series. This is just, you know, a tiny hint, so to speak. You have high visibility, not high, but almost 50-50 visibility in orchestras, but then if it comes to the orchestra board members, it is even again less women than there are women in the orchestra as such. This is just to show you that if you count the orchestra members as a whole, and then you come to 40% women, you say, okay, maybe we are on a good way. But then if you go one step further to the orchestra board members, you see again that there are less women than as board members. The mentoring program for women in leading positions, which I set up and lead for 5 years now, I can say that this really makes a difference for the women who try to go into leading positions. So altogether I start now with 130 tandems. And all those tandems have one ultimate leading person as a mentor, male or female, and then women with really great CVs and at least 10 years of employment and much ambition for top leading positions. And I match them. It is a very delicate way of matching those two persons, and then they get help by their mentors, and for half a year, so they have talks and sessions.
Our main conclusion was that somehow the mindset has accepted the main tool, one of the main tools, that is the balanced presence of women in in those positions, in executive power and participatory power. But what is inaccessible for women, or the less accessible positions to women, are those that have gatekeeping power. That is the artistic positions or artistic direction of main museums or orchestras or the National Theatre or all those. In almost 19 years that we checked, only 82% of those, the time, not the positions, but the time was occupied by men. So it's like when we talk about artistic programming or artistic direction, is we cannot set any limitation, but there is the budget, which is a limitation. There's also all the laws that affect security for workers. Why not consider that this balance programming is also a policy set for accessing to that kind of position, that in general the access is by open calls.
And the point that I'm making here is that conservatoires or teaching institutions of this nature taking on a responsibility to impact our industry in more ways than just the content of what we teach. In 2018, I did co-found an organisation called Ladies of the Stave with a production company called Showstoppers. This came about because there'd been a recent survey of the Musicians Union in the UK amongst members, and it indicated that only 11% of musicians working on West End musicals were women. Virtually all the musical directors at that point in time in 2018 and their assistants or associate conductors were male. And yet I'm testament that London and the UK boasts any number of superb female musicians. What's been extraordinary for us, if we look at the West End, is the number of shows that are there that have specifically identified that they would need a female musical director, like Six and Waitress, and that's had a huge impact in terms of encouraging people to come forward and preparing women to take on those roles. From the work that we've done, we're confident that the numbers and talent of female identifying musicians in the UK can more than sustain the requirement without any loss of artistic quality, which was one of the points, negative feedback that we had from certain quarters within our industry. The diversity, inclusion and recruitment policies of public funded organisations such as the Royal Shakespeare Company and the National Theatre, with whom we've worked very closely, can now serve as a model for commercial producers. Moving forward, we're looking to align our work more closely with the music conservatoires and further education colleges to support young female identifying musicians to see themselves as leaders and decision makers within our theatre and arts community. Thank you very much.